live. Board games, board games is what we're talking about. Board games, we're not gonna shout. I am starting off this streaming with a little bit of singing. And over to this side of me, that is the person of the offline gamer known as Matt. And over there, you will see DutchYoda, known as Dick, on that side of me. And underneath, currently get the Inquisitor, known as Antoinette. We're talking about diversity in media today and how it might affect the things that we say, or how it might affect the games that you play. Board games, it's what we're talking about. Diversity in media, and we're not gonna shout. Hello and good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you are. This is episode 374 of Betty Beats and Board Game Blether, and today we are discussing diversity in media making with Antoinette Mason, Matt Warwick, and DutchYoda, real name Dick Rensema. But Twitch doesn't let me put that into the title because of their which is kind of weird. But I have gathered these three people here because I've spoken to all of you individually, and I just think that you are great people. And I think that you are able to have an adult conversation, not get offended. We're able to talk about difficult topics together. We're able to, have, and also you're all quite experienced in media making, basically. Could we have maybe some quick introductions where you give a quick shout out to your own thing and also talk about who on earth you are? Going maybe clockwise, starting with Matt, if that's...
Start with me. Hello everyone, for those who don't know me, I am one half of the Offline Gamer, which is a podcast and YouTube channel where we talk about board games and some PC games, but more PC games lately, because obviously we won't be able to get together in person to talk about to play board games, but hopefully that's going to change very soon. offlinegamer.co.uk. We do lots of unboxing videos of Kickstarters, and we've started doing a few reviews. It's all there. I don't really know what else to say about that.
No, that's totally fine. There's a wee thing running on the bottom. A quick hello to Nicholas, who I see in the comments. Thank you very much for joining in. Hi. And those are all the links. Have I? Is your Instagram QB.com?
Yeah, I couldn't get QB. It was already taken, so I had to use QB.
I don't know why I'm only just noticing that right now. I mean, it's not like it's the first time I've ever shown it.
It's the problem of having such a short online nickname, is that sometimes it's already taken. There's a Malaysian clothing company called QB, and I sometimes get tweets intended for them.
It's like there's a person called Sainsbury's and has the Twitter account Sainsbury's, and I think every year they actually answer it, and they seem to take delight.
I know what you're thinking. You're thinking of the John Lewis guy, Mr. John Lewis in America.
Yeah. You're quite right. Thank you for correcting me, Matt.
That's all right.
So there we go. And Yoda, who are you, and what kind of media making do you do? And do you have anything you wish to talk about to introduce yourself?
My name is DutchYoda, but my real name is Dick Rensema. I do mostly live streams during the weekend, on Friday as well currently, and on Saturday and Sunday, Saturday in Dutch, Sunday in English. And I mostly play solo games, and sometimes my son will join, and then we play games together, and sometimes I will let chat join in the games as well. And I also do reviews for a site called Budget Spelen. We do reviews for Dutch for a Dutch audience, and that's about it.
And so you've been involved in lots of stuff, and you're streaming. And finally, we've got Antoinette.
Hi, good morning. So I'm Antoinette and I run Board Game Inquisition, which is primarily a video review YouTube channel for board games. I love telling you 5 things about games so you can decide if you want them in your collection or not. I really enjoy taking photographs of board games as well. I'm one half of the Tabletop Inquisition podcast, which I run with Oliver from Tabletop Games blog. And I probably do a bunch of other things that I forget half the time, but they're the main ones. So yeah, if you want to hear what I think of some games and come to your own conclusions, then I think that's why you should check out my stuff.
Antoinette, if you were to unexpectedly appear,
Yes.
like for example, to review a game or interview someone, would they turn around and say, "Oh, I wasn't expecting the Board Game Inquisition. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
No,
That was
it's
terrible."
I have a lot of fun doing that on Twitter, popping into people's comments with the Inquisition gif. It's like, hello, no one expected this. But yeah, I'm glad some people get it because I think some people don't. And I love Monty Python, so I hope people don't think I really want to, catch heretics or something. I want to threaten people with comfy chairs and surprise them with board games. So.
It's like, ooh, you will now have to play viticulture.
Our 2 weapons are meatballs and our 3 weapons are meatballs, dice,
yes.
and boards.
Exactly. You see, I thought the gamers would get it.
Yeah, we're very geeky people.
Thank
And
goodness.
also, a quick shout out to Meeps and Peeps, which is a Discord convention going on, and I know that Dina made this kind of part of that stage, so if anyone's watching there, thank you very much for joining in, and I'll try to take questions from there also as best I am able. But let's get into the main show. We will talk about some recent highlights, have some questionably quick questions. Matt will talk about a brilliant piece of technology, talking about media making, and then we will get to the main topic in maybe 15 minutes of what is actually diversity all about, what are our responsibilities, why does it matter? That's what I really want to uncover today. So without further ado, recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights, recent highlights, playing games and other delights. Let's start, as always, clockwise. Antoinette, what have you been up to recently? Any great games?
You're on mute.
Thank you. I was trying to be really polite so no one had to hear me breathing when they were talking, and then I forgot. So yeah, what have I been playing lately? Lots of really, really fun things, but nothing I have formed a solid opinion on yet. So I've been playing Oath from Later Games. It is a very big and very beautiful game with many, many rules and instructions that I'm working my way around to get to what I think is a good game inside of it. So that's so I need to play more of that so I can understand it better. But that's kind of mostly, yeah, that's my recent highlights. Playing Oath.
So I've not played that at all, but I've been having lots of fun with Roots and got a lot of respect for them. And good morning to Gavin. Lovely to see you.
Hi, Gavin.
What have you been up to, Matt?
What have I been up to? In board games land, the last game I played that I really enjoyed was Canvas, where you're making pictures by sleeving the transparent cards into each other, and I thought that was just so beautiful and lovely, and it wasn't anything particularly intense. So I found it quite a nice, chilled gaming experience. Karen came round, and we played that. So that was very nice. And the other recent highlight is the announcement that UKGE is going ahead. So I'm quite
Oh
excited.
my gosh, yes, that's his
If
quite a
it
big
happens
thing.
based on what's been going on in the last couple of days over here, but fingers crossed.
Indeed. Yoda.
My recent highlight board game wise is I played Manara yesterday and I won, and that's just a rare occasion for me that I beat Manara. So yeah, I played it on stream and with the expansion for the first time, and it was really hard and really nerve-wracking, but it's I'll beat it. For those who don't know what Manara is a dexterity game where you build on with pillars and floors to a certain height, and you got objectives how to build that, and that can be hard. And every time you fail an objective or cannot or will not do an objective, you need to build higher. So, and I think I got to 7 stories, so I was happy with that. Another recent highlight is that I finally got to join my baseball practice this week. The new medication does make it hard to join every time, and I finally had a day that it went well, so I could join my baseball team.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
And speaking of UK Games Expo, Gavin has their tickets, all fingers and even toes are crossed. Trying to
I cannot
think
cross my toes.
I can cross my big toe and the toe next to it.
No.
I don't know if anyone else can.
Just
You're
try it.
multi-talented.
Questionably quick. My recent highlight was trying for yesterday was definitely playing this new game with Idol Michael Fox of Hub Games. It's a paper version of Alphabetical for the L deck. And then we played it once, and Michael said, "Oh, that was fun, let's play it again." And so then we played it again, and then we had a chat about it. Michael was like, "Yeah, no changes needed, that's a good game." And it wasn't a brand new game, to be fair. It was like an adaptation of something that already existed, but kind of designed to be playable in this new format, if you know what I mean. So it's kind of like a flip and write version of a card game, but which isn't that big a difference. But I was really chuffed with that. And yeah, just having good conversations recently. I've been having some conversations with people about what's a game, and just had a lot of thoughts about that, even though I know that conversation isn't for everyone. Anyway, if anyone has any questionably quick questions for us about anything, then please ask now. Now is the moment. So the first question I always like to ask everyone is, where are you? What time is it? I am personally in London, near Finsbury Park. It is 10:14 a.m. How about you, Antoinette?
Okay. So I am in Cork, Ireland, and it's rather nice looking outside. We'll see if that lasts beyond 10 minutes. And it is 10:14 a.m. Welcome.
And then it's my turn, right? I'm in Lelystad in the Netherlands, and it's 11:14 a.m.
And I am in Walsall, West Midlands, UK, and it is, what time is it? 10:14. It's best frozen.
Like we've lost bed. Yeah, it looks like
oh,
it.
no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Next, yep. I had some internet problems momentarily. There was a wee thing to say that it's slow. I do apologize for that. But the next question that I want to ask everyone, given what we were talking about earlier, are you able to cross any of your toes? Try it now. I can definitely cross my big toe and maybe my second toe over my third toe, if you know what I mean. But I don't
cross
think any of the
two big
other
toes
three.
together, but that doesn't really count, does it?
I mean, presumably at that point, you could cross your entire, any of the toes on
your
the
feet,
toes again.
No.
Well, with a little bit of assistance, I can do it.
Okay.
Oh, my big toe won't reach that far.
Can everyone do the Vulcan salute?
No. Like, if I go like
I can
that
do
and I
with
remind
this hand,
my
but not
fingers.
This one I can't do.
So,
My son hates it when I do this and then spread these and then close and then do this again. He hates it when I do that. He hates that. He's like, I cannot do that.
we are being asked about the red hot looking things in the picture. So, Antoinette, does your fire, or Matt, your microphone give off any heat?
It's just an indicator to tell you when it's on. So if I mute it, and then I can speak again.
No, my fire is purely for aesthetic purposes. It does not give off any heat. It makes a clunky sound if you get really close to it. You can hear it wheeling away inside, but that's about it.
Is it just me, or is Antoinette's picture frozen?
I'm frozen. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear
That's
you.
the point. I'm like
Look
a
you're about to attack
dinosaur.
something.
Yeah, it's like I don't know why that has happened.
In
I
solidarity.
wonder.
Yeah.
Against solidarity. I don't know. I'll see if I can fix it. Let's see.
Okay.
Carry
I work
on.
it-
Pretend
I
this
work-
isn't happening.
I work in IT, so I will say, have you turned the camera off and on again?
On and off again. Okay, 1 second. We can do that.
So, while we're doing that, Matt, why don't you tell us all about today's brilliant thing? It's a techie thing, which is brilliant. I mean, this is just magical. You were showing us this before the show started, and I want to share this with the viewers.
So we're on the topic of broadcasting and things. So this is I've got an NVIDIA graphics card for those people who know such things. So NVIDIA have some AI-powered tools that help with broadcasting. So we'll do the video stuff first. Some of this is stuff that most video chat apps have got, like Zoom and Teams. So you can blur the background to differing levels, which is quite aesthetically pleasing. You can replace your background. Let me just change that to something a bit better, like that. Make it so number one. What else can it do? It can do, oh yes, auto frame. So if I were to move around, oh, it knows where I am. But the thing that was really impressing people was the audio stuff. So it's got this amazing AI powered audio noise removal. So if I'm clapping, you can hear me clap. And if I turn the noise removal on and give it a second, I can talk to you and I can still clap.
Wow.
But there you go.
And Matt is
Amazing.
actually clapping and making the same noise as before. It's just that we can't hear it. That is
And then if I
amazing.
turn it
And
off,
yes,
you can hear me
magic.
again. It is magic. And it's also got echo removal. So in here, I don't have any acoustic panels up. So it's all plain walls. So there's quite a lot of, I'm guessing there's a little bit of reverb in my voice. And how about now? Does that sound any different?
Oh wow,
Yeah, it's
that's
just
way better.
definitely a bit crisp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really crisp.
But I'm guessing there's a slight. I'm guessing my voice isn't quite as clear though. It probably sounds a little bit like compressed or something.
I don't
It's
know.
okay.
I mean, that's still marked as a beta, so it's in testing at the moment.
Have you just turned it off?
I've just turned it off. Yeah.
I think I slightly prefer it with it on, but I'm not sure.
It's smoother or something.
And,
Your voice is more buttery.
Hey there.
Hello. I'm Anise Milk. Thank you for watching, and yep, do what you need to do. But yeah,
You could do a Marks and Spencer's food ad now.
I wonder if it will filter out a cough. No. Yes.
You still hear it. It's just
it
tiny.
sounds like
Okay.
it sounds
Yeah.
like I assume that was like a full cough, but it kind of
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
the
It
end
was.
of
I was holding it. I was
Yeah.
waiting for it.
So let's get to the main topic. Feel free to comment, ask questions, fun, like, follow, and we are going to be discussing diversity in media making with all these wonderful people. Now, before we get into this, let's talk about brilliant things again. Why is it brilliant? Why is diversity in media making a brilliant thing? Why does it matter? Sorry, Antoinette, you're first to go. But
Fair enough. Okay, like I was thinking about this last night in lieu of today, and I can't help but think about it. When you watch reviews or content for games, you usually kind of get to know the reviewer, right? And the kind of games they like, and you think, oh, I like the same stuff they like, so I'll watch more of their stuff. But the problem is if you've the same people all of the times, and they're your only kind of options you have to watch for reviews, and there isn't someone you can really identify with, how do you find games you like? Because, everybody has different tastes for different things. And that's why I think it's so important to have a variety of reviewers so people can find someone they kind of identify and connect with. I guess that's what I'm starting with. What's wrong with lots and lots of options? Because there's lots and lots of types of people who enjoy different things. And if it's all the same, it's really boring. So yeah, that's how I'm going to start.
Makes a lot of sense. Making sure that there's options available to audiences. And oh my gosh, we got the wee raid. Hello, Play with Meeps, and thank you everybody for the raid. I want you to know it's appreciated. Maybe it's morning or bedtime. Either way, it's a meeting of minds. Play with Meeps. I hope you're well. I hope everything's been going swell. And now, in case you cannot tell, we're talking about diversity in media making. Couldn't get that lost. That's my improv song. But thank you for joining, Gypsy Blade. Lovely to see you. And good morning, Jess from Descent Games. Lovely to see you both. Matt, why do you think that diversity is important?
Well, it's like Antoinette said, people want to see people like them. I know that's very, very, what's the word? Probably a very basic interpretation of it, but you want to feel like you are being represented. I was thinking about this in the shower this morning, and I was just making mental notes of things that I wanted to bring up, and this is probably going slightly off topic, but I think about my place not only in the context of board game media, but also in the context of the wider board game community. I am a cisgender straight white male, which is predominantly the what's made up the majority of the board gaming community for the last 20, 30 years. And I'm happy that that's changing. But, I know I'm not the best person to speak about diversity because I am, part of the problem. People say I am not part of the problem because I am not racist. I don't discriminate. I'm not sexist. But the people who are feeling left out do not know that you are not part of the problem, if you want to put it like that, because they experience discrimination sometimes on a daily basis. And you have to demonstrate to them that you are welcoming, that that you appreciate that it is our differences and our diversity that make us all stronger as a society, as a group of people who enjoy doing the same thing. So you have to be someone who is welcoming. So it's all very well saying I'm not going to discriminate against you, but you need to demonstrate it. Actions speak louder than words. It goes back to, I think, without touching on it too much, that whole situation. I think it was in America 2 or 3 years ago, where that high school student was walking around with a T-shirt saying, this, I'm not what a rapist looks like. And it's like, well, women don't know that because they don't know you, and they have to assume the worst because of past experiences. So on a more positive note, I guess I'm lucky in that I am surrounded by people who are not cisgendered straight white males, especially as far as board gaming goes and the media making. Karen, my partner, she has her involvement in board gaming has come on greatly since we've been together. And Ray, my podcasting partner, came out last year as non-binary, and they did that to me privately before they did it publicly, and I was so honoured that they felt that they could confide that in me before they let the general, the rest of our circle of friends, and then just people in general know that. So those are the things I noted down that I just wanted to talk about before I forgot them. But yes, to go back to the question, I think it's important that we all make an effort to be inclusive, to be supportive, to be an ally. And as I said before, our strengths, our differences are what makes us stronger and makes the world a more interesting place to live in. So there you go.
100%. And what you say, it makes me think about, making it clear that this is a safe space. I know that Eric Lang's talked about it's not enough to just be not racist. You have to show that you are actively anti-racist. You have to make a stand
exactly.
to let people know that you are an ally. It's not just enough to assume that. People can't assume the best in people because sometimes it is a question of their own safety. And as Jess says, if you're the norm, then everything automatically feels welcoming. Yeah. The unspoken assumptions fit you. But yeah, 100%. Now, myself, why do I think it's important? Like at the bottom, there's a slightly rhetorical question. Does diversity of individuals lead to diverse media and creations? I don't think it necessarily does, but I think it tends towards it. I think there's more chance of these creations being diverse if the people are diverse, if you know what I mean. I think you can absolutely have two very different people making exactly the same thing, but if you have two very different people, they're more likely to make different stuff. And if you want more types of media, like you said earlier on, Antoinette, it's all about allowing you the options, and maybe someone's going to, like Ambi. Did you hear the instructional video that Ambi did for the Mind recently? And it's like in song form. So Ambi tells you how to play the Mind, but it's a song. Have you seen this?
Yeah, I have.
So like Ambi Valdez does a show called Board Game Blitz with Crystal Dax, and Ambi is just such a fantastic songwriter, lyricist, and singer, and Ambi's like sings about how to play the Mind, and it's a catchy thing. That's going to potentially be someone else who hears this. It's going to maybe get someone else into board games in a new way, and that's fantastic. And let's have this massive diversity. And thank you, Matt, for that link. I will paste it everywhere. And hello to Rob, and of course, I do need to give a shout out to Meeps and Peeps, Rob, could you give? I'll do that. But meanwhile, Yoda, could you explain why you think that diversity is important?
Oh, well, I'm trying to think of something that hasn't been said already. By the way, sorry that I just had to leave. I thought I heard a knocking on the door, but there was nobody. Yeah. For me, as a like Matt, as a cis white male, I think it's hard to talk about diversity because I am the majority. So, like a lot of people said, yeah, I'm comfortable in any situation because I am part of the majority. So, and I think everybody should feel welcome and should be able to relate to at least somebody. And yeah. And I can relate to a lot of people, but for me, it's hard to talk about a little bit because I don't know the feeling of other people. I know I should be inclusive, and currently it's a little bit hard. I don't know a lot of people that I could join on my channel. Well, I know a lot of people, but I don't know how to do it yet, so I have to figure that one out. So I'm trying to figure out how I can be more inclusive in my streams. Currently, I'm doing a lot of solo, so it's just me.
And again, with the great points, just says two-part process. Firstly, more diverse group is a bigger range of experiences and general knowledge. And having that bigger range of experiences and general knowledge means you've got more stuff to make games about. And yeah, shouts out again to Descent Games, who is going to be running it. I think it's currently running. If you're an activist, you put in an idea, and if you're a game designer, at the end of the month, I want to say, you start making a game about one of these things. And that's kind of bringing people who wouldn't normally be making games, getting their voices out there. And that's, again, adding diversity. And things like the Zenobia Award, I think that that's fantastic. And let's, give a shout out to people who, like Board Game Blitz and Our Turn and Girls Drinking Wine and Playing Games, I think it's called, and Girls Game Shelf, which now sadly isn't around anymore. But there were so many people who were brought into media making because of that, where it's people who've said, "Hey, there's not enough people who are, women who are doing like there are a lot of, frankly, cis white men making." Media, and whilst I'm not against cis white men doing that, I would love more cis white men to do it, and honestly, but I would also love more people of other demographics, like maybe people who aren't necessarily white, or trans men, or more trans women, or more women in general, or more people of color, or
everyone,
and
everyone,
yeah,
just everyone.
Thank you.
If you're happy to go in front of a camera or in front of a microphone, just do it.
Yeah, like I'm not saying that you have to feel like that's an important thing. Just because you're part of a minority, it should never be incumbent upon you as an individual to do the thing. You shouldn't have that responsibility, I don't think, to represent yourself. And I've been in this situation where I've been like the only Iranian in my school, and I kind of feel like whatever I do, people are honestly, like, there were probably 3 Iranians in the school, but at some point the one who was 2 years above me kind of left the school, and that was anyway. But it felt like whatever I did represented everyone who's Iranian, and kind of then wasn't a great anyway. Let me try to not get off topic.
It can be a burden.
Let's talk about diversity of creations, not just diversity of creators, but diversity of creations. How important is it to actually make something different? Yoda, what do you think?
Before I started, I was really thinking, how can I stand out? And every option I thought of was not something I was comfortable with. So I just did what I was comfortable with doing. So if you're going to do some creation, just make sure you're comfortable with what you're doing. And if it's diverse compared to others, then that's a bonus, I guess. So I'm not diverse. I'm just I'm playing a game and I'm chatting with the chat, and of course I have my little bit of Yoda brand, so you can force me to talk like Yoda or wear a Yoda mask during my stream, which is fun. Doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen. I'm sure glad it didn't happen yesterday, because stacking a tower while wearing a mask is quite of a task. But yeah, that's just a little bit of fun I will have with the chat at that point. But yeah, like Paula Deming with her fun sketches, and Ambi with her singing. stuff like that. Yeah, that will create diversity, and it will make the hobby more diverse and more fun as well. Only that's not my talent.
Quick hello and good morning to Alex. It's lovely to have you as always. Antoinette, what do you think? It sounds like presumably you didn't feel like you... Well, part of it was that you wanted to be a wee bit different and approach it in a little bit of a shorter, more subjective way.
It's true. I think though my opinion on this idea as a whole is that all of us could make an identical unboxing video, right? We'll all get handed a game and we'll all say we'll unbox it. But because it's you making it and you making it and you making it, it will be different. It'll be your own thing. And it doesn't matter that we're all doing something pretty much the same. It's how you do it and how you approach it is what makes it you. So I don't think, to have your content stand out, like obviously it's a great thing, but I do think that you make it your own, and that gives us its own kind of sense of uniqueness. But as you were saying though, my own channel came out of the fact that I wish there was something that wasn't there. I really liked how Tom of the Dice Tower did his reviews, but I just wish he got to the point faster. I was like, I just want to know if this game is any good or not, and then I'll go and watch a different video or a long video and see what it looks like inside. I didn't need to hear all the bits in between, so that's what I modeled it on. And I don't think I wanted to necessarily be different. I just felt like this is what I would do if I was doing this my way. And I guess maybe that made it different. I don't know. I just like to think that different people make different things. Everybody comes from different backgrounds and experiences and will look at things differently. Like I'll look at a particular board game and go, well, why aren't there more female characters in this box? And maybe you'll look at it and go, well, combat is terrible. No, who wants to roll dice to see who wins? And everyone will have a different concern and a different way of reviewing and looking at things. And that's what makes it so interesting. And that's why it's fun to listen to other people's opinions on the same game. I always think that's really funny, how everyone approached it. And I think that's what makes, kind of board game content special, because it's coming from a person and here's their experience with it. And it may not be yours, but I just think it's always so cool to hear that. So, yeah, I think what you make is unique because it's you who made it.
That's a really good point, and for the record, I'm not against dice resolution, but I mean, it's not to my taste. I'm not going to be intrinsically against it, but I am probably going to comment maybe more on the rules than most reviewers would. But
yeah.
Matt, what do you think? Is it important for the individual to stand apart and do something different, have some sort of gimmick, or even have some sort of objective to, hey, that's a niche, I must fill this niche?
Well, that's what I was thinking. It comes down to people's motivations for doing it. I mean, some people may turn around and say, I want to do something different because I know that no one's doing that. But that doesn't necessarily mean instantly, because they think, oh, if I do something different, it's going to be a success because no one's done this before. And of course, that's not always the case. And in general, if you see something that's successful already, some people may think, well, I want to copy that model because that's successful, so I'll be successful. I think all of us are in the realm of there are a lot bigger fish in the sea than us at doing what we do, but we do it because we enjoy it. And I think that's the main thing. So I think, as Antoinette said, everyone brings their own take on it naturally by being who you being who you are. So I think that's what it is. I don't think people should go out of their way to try and find a niche to fill. I think they should just do whatever they feel comfortable with. I mean, that's why Ray and I do what we do, because it's what we enjoy doing. And I think that should just be it. You should just do what you feel comfortable doing, and naturally the diversity is you. But Antoinette put it much more eloquently than I could.
I really like what's being said here, and Alex has a slightly flippant remark. I know, I'll make 3-hour reviews of children's games. Nobody has done that before. Yeah,
in-depth children's strategy
I don't know
games.
if this is a reference to me, because I might have talked about My City for 3 hours, but I don't think I've talked about a children's game for that long. But I guess there's also the question of, is there an audience? And not yet, says Alex. No, I am going to actually make my reviews a wee bit shorter than 2 hours.
There's a niche market we haven't thought of yet.
With extended playthroughs and strategy tips. Oh my god!
Well, that's an interesting. That's an interesting discussion, isn't it? I mean, diversity and the length, the size of a video. I mean, there are things that say the majority of videos, people won't watch a video if it's more than 5 or 10 minutes long. But there is still a demand for long form content. So,
I mean, with streaming, there's 14 people watching this, and so because this is a conversation worth having, and it's not like. For me personally, I feel really appreciative that there is an audience, and I think that's the highest. My favorite form of content is when it's pre-scripted somewhat, when people have gone off and had that discussion, and then when they come back and they say, okay, these are my findings, and this is it, slightly edited, and that's not what I'm able to do. I frankly don't have the time for that, but hopefully within this medium, so I'm just plugging myself in. Hopefully within this medium, people feel able to join in and engage with the conversation. And yeah, this is, again, no one else is streaming the way I do. And it's not like I came out to say, I am going to do it exactly this way. Honestly, like myself, very similar to you, Antoinette, and I think partially you, Matt, where for me it was basically a case of trying to not be depressed. And a reason to get up in the morning. And it's continued to be a great reason to get up in the morning. And there's a reason why I basically streaming 12 times a week now, which is kind of a lot. But I get value out of all those. Like the 4 times when I'm in the afternoon, sometimes I'm playing games that I've worked on. Sometimes it's a way of me, okay, I'm going to work for this hour on this game. Okay, I'm working with Michael on this game. Okay, I'm now and like there's little objective each thing. And sometimes, okay, I'm going to practice my keyboard for an hour during this thing. And I'm trying to now, for obvious reasons, keep them to an hour, because if I had 12 streams and they were all like very long, then that would be too much. But it's also a reason to get up in the afternoon now, says Alex.
Aww.
But generally, no one would. I hear people saying, "Oh, I asked the difficult questions," and I think, "Are you really? Like, you're not asking them what was the and." Good morning, Joanne, who are talking about diversity and media making and how everyone, even if you try to do the same thing as someone else, Antoinette made the great point that you can't help but do something, differently. And Nicholas says, thinking about, we've got a few comments. Let me actually try to catch up with all these comments. I do apologize. Firstly, it feels really odd to be in the minority, says Jess. I'm a cis white woman. I'm really very middle class. I'm not used to feeling like a minority, but I am learning from the experience. And that's the thing. Maybe in some circles you are actually a majority. It all depends on the context. Any other thing? And if anyone has any points on this, feel free to just jump in and interrupt me, please. Gavin says, there's lots of really long, boring kids' YouTube videos that seem really popular. Maybe you're onto something. Rolling a 6 is hugely unbalanced, says Rob. You should always do that. It's not your turn. Gavin,
with the D20.
Descent suggests Jess and a 2-year-old playing trains for 3 hours, includes tea breaks. If cricket can have tea breaks, so can reviews. And Nicholas makes an interesting point that it's also about the format of where you stream. Like streaming is longer, and then you've got YouTube pre-recorded videos, and then you've got TikTok, and then you've got Instagram. Although TikTok and Instagram, I think, are both basically the same. They're both at a minute or less. But yeah, that kind of, if I've caught up. Andran says, I guess that's like music. Even if I'm not a pro, my music is still good and people still like it. And finally, Gavin asks, does the hobby itself and its community promote certain forms though? For example, no matter how diverse the voices are, we all want to fit in and we all show off games in the background or whatever. I mean, it's interesting that you should say this because only one out of the four.
Yeah.
I have some completely irrelevant poster up there, and it just happens to be where I'm sitting, honestly. I think Antoinette and Matt have curated their backgrounds a bit. Certainly Antoinette. I don't know about you, Matt, if you've curated.
Oh, it's just books and things in there. It's
Thinking about getting a green screen so that this will not show anymore.
Antoinette,
I think
you've
it's a lovely
tried to
background.
have a cozy looking background, right?
Yes, that's very purposeful because I, like most board game reviewers, when I started out, sat in front of my Kallax shelves with my board games, just like everybody else did. And it's kind of like a badge, isn't it? Because it's like, you know, I'm officially a reviewer now. You can see my games. And there was always the fun of people trying to call out what game they saw behind you. And talk to you about it. I always thought it was a discussion piece. But when I moved my filming studios to somewhere different, I didn't bring the games with me. I was like, this is my chance to kind of show a little bit more of myself than just the games, because I really wanted to be like, I was sitting by the fire and telling you a story about these board games I played. And that's what I wanted to do. So I couldn't have a real fireplace, so I got a fake fire. It was about the next best thing. And a bunch of photos and a murder board, as I fondly call it, for my board games. I decided to just try and make it a little bit different, because when everyone else, I suppose, is you watch videos, there's a lot of board games in the background. I don't know if it's refreshing to turn on mine and not see it. I don't know. But there's a lot of me in the shot anyway, so I'm not sure how much of the background you would even notice most of the time. But I decided to go for something a little cozy. Why not? A little bit more me. But yes.
As long as we never see pictures of us on the murder board, I think we're okay.
It needs updating.
And I don't think Yoda took it as Johnny at all. And I think it makes perfect sense to, you know, show, hey, I've got, frankly, if I could have all my games in the background, I totally would. And then I'd be like, and you've got Paul Rogan, who's like got the hexagons, where it's like Paul Rogan chooses two objects very carefully to say these are the objects that I'm going to have. Like maybe the front cover of the game, and if I'm talking about trains, maybe there will be a little model train. If I'm talking about photosynthesis, maybe there will be a little plant. And I think it is sometimes a space issue. But I think sometimes, genuinely, people do it as a form of validation. I don't know if this is true, but I think sometimes there's a form of, hey, look, I've got lots of games. My opinion counts. Check out how many games I have.
For me, it's a space issue. It's definitely a space issue. I have a little nook here next to my living room where all this is, and then I have my table here. If I would switch my camera around, it would be a big mess, because my living room is a big mess, so I'm facing it this way.
I assure you the rest of my room is also a mess if you move the camera slightly that way. It's one very small curated space.
A lot of cardboard boxes that need to be removed.
I'm going to start a review show from the side of the cliff, and each review will end with a literal cliffhanger. Wait until next time to find out what score I give to this game.
That's so Monty Python. I love it.
It should be done by a guy called Cliff, though, shouldn't it? Cliff doing reviews on a cliff.
Cliff reviews.
We've already established that even if you're just doing another thing, then you're going to give it your own spin. So there's something else that I wanted to talk about, where obviously you've got Jay, who's well known for doing 3-minute board game reviews, because that's the name of their channel, 3-minute board games. And then you've got people who are, you've got at least 2 people who are well known for doing 1-minute board game reviews. And, you've got Ambi, who's well known for doing music. If you see something that's being done by just one person, or is it okay to say, hey, that's a really good idea, I want to do the same thing? Do you kind of get what I'm saying? Or do you kind of need, is that immoral somehow? Do you need to give them some amount of time to say? Is there some thing that you need to say, at the start of every review, thank you, blah, 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 for giving me this idea, which certainly if you're doing a 1-minute review, that would take a lot of your seconds away when you've only got 60. Like, Yoda, what do you think? I mean, for sure, lots of people are doing the Tom Vassell style of reviewing of, here's an intro, here's kind of shots of the channel, here's a bit about me kind of explaining this game, here's how the game's played, here's what I think of this game. And that feels like a fine way to do it. But a lot, obviously that's kind of...
That's the way how I do it. Just a little bit an intro and then explaining the game, not going over the components necessarily unless I think it should be mentioned if there's something special about them. And then a conclusion at the end. That's how I do it. But I'm thinking about doing a little bit different, but I haven't figured out how yet. Just make it a little twisty. I know there's a Dutch channel that copies Shut Up and Sit Down almost to the letter. No, not the script itself of the games, but the way they do it.
Style.
Like sitting near the table, sitting lower than the table, and that sort of thing. So, I don't know if Shut Up and Sit Down have heard of them. I don't even know their names, but I have seen them pass by, and it looks fun, but it's not my style. I wouldn't do it. But if you feel comfortable, do it your way. But try to make it a little bit your own. Put your own little twist on it. Just don't copy it exactly.
I think there's sorry to jump in, but I think there's an element of you will look at someone who's been doing it for a long time and naturally try and copy their style because they've refined it. I mean, if you look at people like the Dice Terror, he's been doing that for over 10 years. So he's found a rhythm that works. And I think because the videos are popular, that people want to watch reviews in that style. So I can certainly understand why people would try and emulate what he's doing. And from a narrative perspective, it makes sense. You wouldn't want to get his thoughts about what he thinks first before you look at the components of the game. I know that what you said earlier, Antoinette, but personally, when I'm watching a Dice Terror video, I skip past. I'm not interested in that. Yeah, okay, that's interesting.
I mean, personally, if I want a video out I like it when they say, "Hey, this is what I think. And now let me." Spend the rest of the video explaining why I think this.
Okay, interesting.
It's interesting though when you talk about kind of emulating someone else's style, because in a sense, like no one can really copyright what they do or say this is my thing because everyone is just inventing their ideas on something else they saw or somebody else. So I don't know if there's a huge thing you could do about it, but I found it interesting when I started. I make a video once a month called my monthly roundup video, where I just sit down and I chat about the games I've been playing over the month or something like that. So kind of like a vlog, and it wasn't like, it's not original. No other people did such things. But when I started doing it, I knew people who watch my channel started doing it on their channels. And on the one hand, I was like, oh, that's my idea. But on the other hand, I was like, actually, this is really nice to see people sitting down and talking about their games with their audience instead. And I kind of like that it's spread. And every so often I'll see more people start a monthly roundup as opposed to kind of, I don't know, any other phrase for it. And I just think it's kind of nice to see the Notion idea, because the idea behind it was you should sit down and take stock of what you've been collecting or playing, or what you've picked up or what you got rid of, or that kind of stuff. So that in that way, there's something nice about someone taking on your idea and running with it, isn't there? You know, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
There's an interesting example of that kind of thing. I watch a YouTube channel called The Angry Video Game Nerd. I don't know if people know about it, but he's a guy who reviews old 80s computer games. And there was another guy who did a very similar channel not long after, called The Irate Gamer. And the community went absolutely berserk, you know, saying, "Oh, you've ripped off The Angry Video Game Nerd." We carried on doing it anyway. But and then a couple of years ago, they did a crossover episode where they both were in the same video. You know, from the creator's point of view, there was no problem. He was like, well, you know, this guy's enjoyed what I'm doing and he was inspired by me. That's great. But sometimes if you're popular, the community can rally behind you as well, or even though you may not necessarily want them to, which is an interesting thing.
Yeah, you don't want to have your own hooligans.
Yeah.
Okay.
When I was speaking to Jay, one thing that I remember Jay talking about is how no one's done this sort of not stop motion, but what do you call this? Like the kind of fast cutting way that Jay does it on their channel. Because frankly, it's not just that it's in about 3 minutes. It's also that it's you know, this kind of fast-paced style. It's highly edited, and people haven't done it because it's a lot of work. I mean, Gavin said it so correctly. The idea is not usually good enough on its own, and I would almost say it's never good enough on its own. So you always need some degree of extra work to get there. Some ideas, okay, once you've got, it depends what you call an idea, what you call, but yeah, and Rob says it's amazing how defensive fans can get even when it isn't wanted. And yeah, I think that if people are doing something and then you like it, if you have the ability to credit them, even in your YouTube description, because sure, maybe most people who watch this aren't going to read everything in the YouTube description, but if they are, then they'll kind of see stuff and they'll find all the links. But if you've got, and most people who play one of the LDEC games might not read through all the credits, but if you do, then you'll see, okay, this is a person who made this small change, and this is a person who made this small change, and it's there for you to find out about. And I think that if someone has directly inspired you and you are able to, I think it's worth giving them a shout out and saying, you know, these people are people that inspired me, or even at some point maybe doing a video about, hey, thanks to these people, like an entire video about that. That seems like a reasonable thing about your own origins. But yeah, I think if you want to do 3-minute reviews, then, you know, Jay's already said to me that it's fine to do if other people want to do it. If you want to do 5-minute reviews, go for it. If you like, it's also going to be about what you bring it to it personally. And yeah, especially and obviously money kind of does make things kind of different when some people are starting to do payments, and I guess that's a kind of, because at that point someone might say, oh, I was the only person doing 1-minute reviews, people were paying me to do this, now you took that business away from me. Is there ever a problem with that? Could you see some animosity coming from that if we go around for a quick answer? What do you think, Yoda? Or Antoinette, if you're ready to answer.
Yeah, I'm not ready to answer.
I don't know. I just don't think you can copyright the idea. Like, as in, if someone else does 3-minute board games, it won't be 3-minute board games because that's Jay's version of it. How he cut things, how he put it together, his vision, all that kind of stuff. So I could make a similar video, but it wouldn't look anything like Jay's. Maybe it'd be 3 minutes, but that would be it. So I think it's like when it comes to money, though, money, yeah, of course, messes things, but you are still you, and that's mostly what you're selling, right? If somebody's paying money for you to make content, it doesn't matter necessarily how the content turns out. It's you, the person. They're paying in your vision, I suppose. And if they, I don't think someone else can take that away from you necessarily. If it's your, you know what I mean? If it's your thing in the first place, I suppose. that's where I'm going with it. You're a package. You're not entirely distinct from what you create. So you have to put the two together. So yeah, there could be, 10 people making 3-minute videos, but this one is still mine. And that's the one people were paying for or whatever. So yeah.
That's a really good point. And Joanne says that she liked it when being given credit for the garden idea because I've started streaming in the garden when I'm able to. And that was largely down to Joanne, who, I started off actually streaming sometimes in the garden, but then I stopped. And I was like, hey, why not make it a weekly thing? So like Friday, it's special. It's Alfresco Friday. And it's not just, hey, that's the credit, but also a nice sense of community and a connection and a sense of appreciation. But I guess if there is money involved, let's say if there was some sort of big desire and people are being paid some money to do videos in the garden, and people are being paid for this, I'll do that as well, then at least then it's a reminder that the other person also exists. I don't know. What do you think, Yoda?
Yeah. I'm trying to formulate my sentence. I think.
Do you want Matt to go first?
Matt, go first.
Okay. Well, my view is it depends on your motivation for doing it. If money is your primary motivation, then of course you're going to be annoyed when people do things similar to you. And then if they've got a Patreon or whatever, and people donate to them, and you may think that it is taking something away from you. I mean, the important thing to remember is that there is no guarantee that just because someone has paid someone else for something doesn't necessarily mean they would have paid you because you do the same thing. Like Antoinette says, it's the presenter and the package as a whole. We might do identical videos, and people might give Antoinette £5 a month for it and not give me anything, and I could turn around and say, well, that's because she's doing the same as me, so therefore she's stolen my money. But like I said, there's no guarantee that if Antoinette wasn't doing that and I was, they would not have necessarily given me the money if they don't like me. So that's the main thing. I mean, we've got a coffee page set up for our show. Never had a single donation. Doesn't bother me because that's not why we do it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So it's just it depends on why you do what you do, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree with that one. When what was the game? Red Rising came out, I got my copy because I'm a Stonemaier champion. So I got my copy pretty early, and then I streamed it. And at the same time, I see a lot of sponsored streaming as well. And it's like, I'm not the one getting sponsored. I'm doing it for free right now. But I didn't mind. I just know it. I noticed it. My audience is a lot smaller than the other channels anyway, so it makes sense that they got a sponsorship and I didn't. But yeah, I'm not doing it for the money or for free games or anything. I just want to share fun games with the other people.
And yeah, Alex makes a facetious point. Hang on, these people are scoring the games out of 10. That's my thing. But
actually,
more seriously, I think for the most part, the community polices copycat designs. Do you think there are cases in content creation that are clearly copycat versions? I personally can think of an example where someone has probably been inspired directly by someone else, but they've gone on to make it their own thing. And even in the example that Yoda's talking about, which I wasn't aware of, at least they're bringing it to a new audience, the Dutch people. I don't think you can say that's just a copycat design just because they're following a similar. I know from a legal perspective, look and feel is the thing that you're actually meant to be able to protect. But I actually think I personally think it's okay someone doing that for shut up and sit down.
Yeah, I mentioned there. I found out their name. It's called Board for Your Cop, which means literally it would mean plate in front of your face. That means you're just so blind because there's something blocking your vision, in Dutch. But another word for plate is board, as in board games. So that's why they did board game. It's a board for your face. So you're having a board for your face. So. I don't think the meaning of the phrase still works because it means they're blind to anything else, but that wouldn't work. But I get the pun.
Do you two, Antoinette, Matt, are there any things that come to your mind? You don't have to name names, but is there any copycat content that you can think of?
I think there's a good example when it comes to like tutorial videos for teaching you how to play a game. There's one per predominant name that began it all, and then there's been a number of kind of people doing identical things since then. It caught on because it was so popular. And that seemed like something that was definitely like a trend. That was kind of a niche market because people love the idea of being able to learn a board game watching a video as opposed to reading the rule book. And so there seems to be a number of those, right? But I'm pretty sure it started out with just one Canadian.
But, to give them, actual to name check Rodney Smith, because, I was meaning more, you don't have to name names of people who are kind of disparaging, but, I think it's fine to name names when we're kind of giving them credit. So, like, Rodney Smith has gone on record, I believe, as saying that, I don't have time to do all the games. If other people want to do games, then that's great. And Rodney Smith, for those who haven't met Rodney in person, is a lovely person, except that they will, if you ask for snacks from Canada, they might also bring you stuffed lobster. True story. Which is nice of them, but anyway, but Rodney Smith is lovely, except that they will share snacks. I mean, that's not an accept, is it? I'm kind of just reinforcing how lovely they are. But in all seriousness, Rodney Smith, no one can do all the things, and no one's kind of going out and saying, okay, I'm going to do it exactly that way. I think if you started off your videos with a little box twirl and things like that, that might be a bit much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
True.
Maybe I should twirl and then pick up the box.
I hate when people share snacks, so unreasonable. Alex making facetious comments, that's my thing. Nicholas says, I reckon that being aware of what's out there is important when starting a thing, although only the person starting the thing may be able to know where the credit is due, e.g. being inspired by a specific person to stream outside versus by the TV format of the TV garden, as it exists, for example, in Germany. Someone could say, oh, others do that, so nobody could say I took it from someone in particular. But why not just do the shouts out and acknowledge that part of your own story? I think that's a really good point. If someone inspires you, then unless you have some reason to hate this person, but I'm not saying that facetiously, genuinely, if there's some reason, like maybe there's some bigger reason why you don't want to give the shout out, but I think assuming that everyone involved is a decent, normal person and they haven't been jerks that you want to be like, actually, I just don't want to name check them, which I could sort of understand. Why not, share that part of your story, 100%. And Gavin Jones says, novelty is not successful by itself. It's the execution, perseverance, tweaking, self-reflection, and a bit of luck. Maybe the point is inclusion. Everyone is important. Everyone has their own thing to contribute, for sure. I agree with this, and most content has been done elsewhere before. Yeah, and so in a way, it is kind of immensely gatekeeping if you were to say, okay, doing board game reviews in X minutes, that's my thing. And for those who haven't seen it, Jay's April Fool's video was really brilliant, kind of a race to the bottom of how quickly you could do a board game review. I don't know if you three have seen it. My favorite April Fool's video of 2021, that's the year we're in. But the point is that, yes, take the ideas, and not allowing other people to take something from you is kind of gatekeeping. If someone else wants to do streaming about board games and have an intro song and an outro song, I would love that. Don't feel, oh, that's Bez's thing, I can't do it. I mean, it would be lovely if you said, oh, I was inspired to do this by Bez, but feel free to do it. Have your own bye-bye song and intro song. Frankly, if you want to sing my bye-bye song...
you don't want to hear that, Bez.
No, you don't want to hear me singing at all.
I'm going to say, as long as you give me credits, that's what I'm going to do. Okay. I'm officially releasing it on Creative Commons on the share-alike, attribution license. That's what I'm officially doing. Like, I know officially I have to write things, but you know what I mean. And all this stuff. And Nicholas says, if I start video with, hello everybody, Nico here, then I'd be impersonating Edo, even if I like the format, and people would be right to call me out on it because that's not how I really talk. I don't know, because again, when you're doing a video, you kind of, Do you have anything more to say about this whole thing of taking things from other people and being inspired and doing your own thing, or should we move on?
I think we move on.
Yeah, I think it's safe to move on.
Let's talk about interviewers, because I don't know if you've done interviewing, Yoda.
I tried and it didn't work out. But that's one more scheduling issue. I need to reschedule with somebody to do that.
You two have done a wee bit of interviewing. Obviously, I've done quite a bit. For about 100 episodes, that was what I was doing. I think it was about the 200s where I was doing that basically 6 times a week. And do you have a responsibility to make sure that the people that you're interviewing come from a diverse background and have diverse viewpoints? Do you have that responsibility as an interviewer? Antoinette.
I'm trying to think about how at the Tabletop Inquisition podcast we were deciding, who we would like to interview. And in most cases it was somebody we thought was doing something really interesting, or who we thought it would be really fun to talk to and hear their thoughts on things. And I think we accidentally, we didn't purposefully seek out diverse people, but we did accidentally, I suppose, come across that way, because people with new and cool ideas are often people that are not necessarily the majority voice in the first place, right? So we interviewed a good number of women and things like that, and talked about their game designs and kind of the interesting things they were doing in the board game community, like Anne Jones, who kind of makes board game events. And this all seems interesting. We thought more people should hear about this stuff. So that was kind of our process. We didn't specifically aim to be diverse, but of course everyone is welcome, and we love to hear people's stories, and the more different and unusual they are, the better. And also people that we thought would appreciate some signal boosting, so more people could hear about their great things, all the better. Yeah. So how do other people choose?
I'm pretty much the same. I mean, on the first instance, I'll talk to anyone who's happy to talk to me. But you know, from a diversity of not as in you know, racial or sexual diversity, but just from within our hobby, I've always gravitated towards the smaller independent publishers or creators, because the big guys get enough press as it is. So why not concentrate on the smaller guys? But yeah, I mean, I think we do have a responsibility to make sure that those voices are heard. But we have, you know, everyone's voices should be heard. I can't really articulate my thoughts very well on that matter, but I think you understand
that you are trying to give a platform to those who might not have the budget or ability to have their own platform yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think as well that you...
Antoinette, carry on, please.
No, sorry, I cut across everybody, but I had a thought, so I thought I'd run with it. I do think, though, sometimes as a member, a kind of not necessarily the majority, you are more inclined to find people like yourself that need the help to be seen by more people. So, like, I think I'm more predispositioned to, you know, interviewing women and things like that, because I feel like there's not enough of those voices out there, without necessarily going, oh, we need a woman on our list this month, you know, we're missing one of those and we need something else to tick a box, because sometimes it feels like other people do that. But when really it's just like, well, I kind of know what it's like, and it would be cool to hear from more women in the hobby, or etc. I can spread this out further, but this is just, I suppose, the one I can kind of shake my stick at. So carry on. I'm sorry I interrupted.
I just want to add a quick point onto the end of that as well. What I've noticed is at events like UKGE, the smaller guys are always happier to talk to you than the big companies. You know, if you go along to like Asmodee and say, "Can I have an interview with someone?" They'll say, "Oh well, we got to try and fit you in." But then the smaller guys in those like areas where, you know, near where you tend to have your stance, Bez, you'll just go up to someone and you'll be like, "Can you spare 10 minutes?" And they're like, "Yeah, come on, let's talk to them." Do you know what I mean? So it's definitely that side of the hobby is definitely easier to, you know, to make connections with. I found.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true.
I'm done.
Okay, well, I was wanted to say something about tokenism, but Antoinette stole my thunder about that one.
Sorry.
But yeah, you have to prevent that inviting people to an interview or to a live stream is just about see how diverse I am. I am inviting Black people, I'm inviting women, I'm inviting Asian people, trans people. You just need to make sure you're inviting them because you have a good connection with them, you have fun with them, and then it will show that you are diverse and not just showing off like, oh, I know that person, so I am diverse.
Okay, so the whole topic of tokenism is really difficult. I'm going to say my thoughts on this, and then I'll let you free respond, and then I'll kind of try to catch up with all the comments. Yeah, I do think that if you're saying, okay, I'm going to talk to people who are important in the board game industry, then sure, you are kind of lack of diversity in your interviewees might reflect lack of diversity within the industry, which is a sad thing. And I don't think it should necessarily be incumbent upon the reviewer to change that. However, I do think that there is quite often it's going to be the same people that you keep being made aware of. I mean, look, let Leader Games, okay, they're great folk. And, you know, we've talked about them now. If I want to, look, actually, one thing I want to say about Leader Games is also if they're active on social media, if I see someone retweeting my stuff, I'm frankly more likely to then invite them over because I think, okay, maybe they're interested in talking to me. And so I see Leader Games doing that. So I'm like, okay, you know what? would you be interested in coming and joining me at 4 p.m. one day? I might say that at some point. There are certain figures in the industry that I would love to have on. For myself, I wrote a private list of about 20 people that once I've had all of them on, I'll like, yeah, that's it. And some of them I need to have on before they die, fingers crossed. That sounds really morbid. But I want to also meet new people, like Maisie, okay, who does translation for Japanese to English. That's someone that I would not have been aware of had I not been like, okay, you know what, I've talked to lots of men recently, like I want to find more interviewees, but let me actually just skim through everyone who's talked to me, and let me actually skim through my followers list. That seems like a nice way, because those people who followed me, presumably they've got some interest. And then skim through and, okay, who's this person's doing translation, Japanese to English, boom, there we go. And I think that's the thing of doing a little bit more work. I know, for me, I'm very privileged. I've got like over 3,000 followers now, which I had a wee competition, and it feels like a bit of an accomplishment. It's kind of symptomatic of how long I've been at it, frankly. I've been at it for over 6 years now, since I did the In a Bind Kickstarter. And I've been basically at it constantly since then. And there's a privilege that I kind of worked for, but I worked to get myself into this point of privilege. Now, there's a whole bunch of people following me. So I'm like, okay, if you're following me, then presumably you're interested. I can reach out to you, and I'm going to say, oh, here's a person that I don't know who they are. Frankly, Leader Games, if I had to choose between Maisie and Patrick Leader, I would choose Maisie, because same as you, Matt, Patrick, Leader Games, I have been enjoying a lot of Root on Steam, but we've kind of already heard that story. I've already heard that story on a podcast about how I've heard, if I've heard a story on a podcast before, I don't want to just be repeating that. I want to be chatting to someone who maybe hasn't chatted so much before. When I say, okay, link me to all your things, and then I check out, and bringing some new questions to it, but bringing a new angle to it, sure, you can do that. But there's also the question of, if I just reach out to the people who pop into my mind, that's going to just self-perpetuate that issue. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I think it's important to step into spaces and say, who would be interested in talking to me? Here's what is there anyone who has chatted more than me now, Bez, in public? No, there's definitely been people who streamed for thousands of hours. Last time I checked, I'm only 8. I was actually wondering whether I should intentionally plan it so that my 400th extravaganza also coincides with my 1000th hour on Twitch, which would be quite a nice kind of coincidental thing. But anyway, I do sometimes, and this feels slightly problematic to say, but I do sometimes look at people and think, hey, frankly, all my guests, how many Black people do I have on? Not that many. I've had Kenechukwu from Nigeria. I've had a bunch of people that Kenechukwu has introduced me to, Presh and Tobena and oh shoot, I'm trying to think of Yeshide. And all these people are from Abuja in Nigeria. And it's just because I found Kenechukwu who introduced me to these other 3 people. And I am actively trying to get people who aren't just white. And I do try to sometimes go into things and think, okay, is there anybody here that I would be actively interested in chatting to, and sometimes reaching out? But that doesn't mean that it's just because they're Black. It's because they're doing interesting things. And they are... Does anyone on screen have anything to add to that? Oh, and a quick goodbye to Joanne. It's been lovely to Have
Joanne.
you? And I'm sorry that I've not been able to respond to everything super quickly, but lots of love and appreciation of you. But yeah, anything about this?
Can you bring up Joanne's last comment before she left? Yeah.
I think about that in the corporate world. People lately complain about companies not hiring diversely. Isn't it better to hire for qualification?
You're in danger there of perpetuating the problem. You see, that's the main issue with lack of diversity. You know, working in IT, I know that people like me are the predominant. You know, whenever there's a job, people, you know, white males in the age bracket 20 to 40 or whatever are going to be the largest number of people applying for that job. And it's all very well saying, you know, these 5 guys are the best qualified, so we'll hire one of them instead of this lady. But you're just perpetuating the issue. And as well, you've got to look at someone's potential. Their potential may not have been reached because of the systemic gender bias in an industry. So you may decide to hire someone different to give them an opportunity, but also to hopefully start breaking down those barriers. So it's a very interesting balance. I mean, obviously, if one candidate is head and shoulders above the rest, then that's what you'll go for. But you know, it's an interesting ethical question. I don't have an answer to it, but it's a very interesting discussion point.
I think what you said there about bearing in mind people's potential and how that aptitude might not have been reached because of the affordances that they've had so far, I think that's a really important point. Rob on this topic says qualifications are only one metric. Just because someone has qualifications and or an impressive CV doesn't actually mean they are best for the job. Access to qualification already has institutional bias. Do you have anything to say on this topic, Yoda?
Well, I totally agree with Matt. For example, I work in IT as well, and sometimes we have conferences as well. Not now, of course, but we used to have them. And my company would send mostly if we would go to a con. If I'm a speaker, then I'm going to be there, but mostly they will try to send the women at our company or the persons of color to those cons, just to show, not as a tokenism, but to let people see that there are other possibilities than just white male. And we have a little bit, I'm not going to say that we are very diverse. I think 30%, 75% of our company is still white male, but we have women and we have persons of color in our company as well. And you can send all the white.
As usual, to be honest, we aren't going to come to any solid conclusions. It's just a chat, and I hope that if anyone else has any points, I am going to go to some of the more facetious points, where Gavin says, Gavin is doing Gavin's great gabbing get-togethers with a howdy holler and a farewell flailing. And honestly, if you wanted to do that, I would be totally down for that. And have you heard, there was at least one person who did a kind of April Fool's where they were saying, I'm taking pizza out of the packaging. You know what this means? It's time for another pizza eating with Beth. And it's like, for those who haven't heard it, it's exactly the same intonation as Drive to Work with Mark Rosewater. But on it, like, give credit. I think that, honestly, do it. I love it. On that same topic, Nicholas says, if Nicholas were copying Edo's "Hello, everybody," I like his videos, and wanting to make likable videos would potentially drive me to do things that I find endearing, which I imagine is the risk when starting to do something creative. As with anything, you start more copying than anything, just because you haven't found your voice yet. Taking on a format lowers the barrier of entry, but doesn't add to diversity. But I don't think that's a problem. I don't think copying people is necessarily a problem, because you have to copy people until, like, in a bind. And sorry to tell the story once more, I'll try to be quick. It started off very much me copying Flux and a game called Unfair by Danish Frank, sorry. You distracted me with your name, Dutch. I do apologize. They were from Denmark, totally different country. Danish Frank Henry. So Danish Frank, and of course Flux from Looney Labs. And I started off with this overcomplicated mess, and then eventually through testing and iteration, and it's the iteration which allows you to give you stuff your own voice. Same with, frankly, now at this point I am kind of stealing from myself to in that my plus, I use exactly the same handicap system as I had in Wibble. And, you know, the ×1, ×2, ×3 that I had in the game that I mentioned at the start for the flip and right version of alphabetical, I took that from Micromuckle, where I was like, okay, ×3, ×2, ×1, that seems to work nicely. And, you know, seeing how things work and just trying them. And as I think, if that's what gets you started, then that seems okay. I don't know if anyone else has anything to say about this. We talked about Joanne's comment. Over to me. I can share because I really want to. Okay.
Well, hop on the show, Aqua.
Matt.
I'm not going to do it.
No. Now I'm curious how it would sound.
Matt's marvelous monologue melody. No.
I like it. I think you should also keep that up if you fancy. Only if you want to. Yeah, Rob, 100%. People are obsessed with originality from day one, but originality so often develops when you build on existing work. I 100% agree with this.
True.
Yeah. And yeah, I like, for those who don't know, there was a day back in, I can't remember, a few months ago, Alex said repetition legitimizes, and then that statement was repeated about 20 or 30 times over the course of a show. Yeah, and there we go. Anyway, if anyone feels like they have to jump in, please do so. Otherwise, finally, this is our penultimate question, I guess. Do we have a responsibility to feature games from diverse folk? Quick hot takes.
Yes.
I mean, I think it's the same as the previous question, to be honest. I will feature games from anybody and everybody, but we should not shy away from, we should highlight our differences and celebrate them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And you said yes. I mean, I'm going to be contrarian, and I'm going to say no. I'm going to say that, I don't know. I think that.
Oh, when you say feature, do you mean over others, or we should go out of our way?
Yeah, like there's always when you spend time doing anything, there's always something that you can't spend time doing. So you're always going to be doing something at the expense of something else. So yes. But
I guess for me, I think it's never really mattered where the game has come from. I will play and try anything if I think it looks interesting or fun or that's unusual. I always love finding something odd, and I don't mind if that comes from like one person in their basement making their game, or that comes from a big company who's made tons of games. I always find the game part itself is the bit that speaks to me the most, and then if it turns out it's from a kind of from someone outside of the norm, even better. if that makes sense. And if I can highlight those things, all good. But I think the strength of kind of what you're showing is in your game. At least for me, anyway. That's how I look at it as a reviewer. What am I going to show people? What's cool about this? What's fun? What's interesting? That kind of malarkey.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning on, similar to you, Antoinette, I'm kind of leaning towards no, but I kind of, this is the one that I don't have the strong opinion on at all.
There is an element of if by featuring them, you show other people who might be in their situation that it's okay for them to do what they want to do. I mean, there may be someone struggling with things, and they may see you, Bez, and go, "Oh, I'm going through the same thing, and I want to make games, and I didn't think I would be able to." But then by them seeing you doing it, they might have the confidence then to step up and do something, and great things may come of that. So, I don't know if you should do them at the expense of other people, but I certainly think we should not shy away from showcasing those people.
Any thoughts on this, Yoda?
Well, I'm almost happy to show anything from any designer or publisher, with the exception of what I call the bad apples, people that are known for just doing a lot of gatekeeping themselves, or just being the bad apples in our industry, just not doing anything with people of color, not being plain out racist. That's also a possibility. Then I will not show their game or do anything with it. But for the rest, I'm happy to show or play anything.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I know that Jay said that certain games, this doesn't show things in a great way. This feels like it's a problematic game in terms of how it's misappropriating these cultures, or if there is something from a certain designer, there are like maybe 3 designers I've heard that are on Jay's blacklist that Jay will just not mention at all. I'm sorry, I'm putting a lot of, but honestly, I'm talking about Jay because I just really appreciate Jay, because I think that, again, this is someone who is a cis male, but Jay's doing great stuff and making really interesting content, and it is very diverse. And I think that it's important for us to not just seek games from one place, because I think if we seek games just from Board Game Geek, or if we seek games from the same places that we've kept getting games, if we keep getting games from the same 3 or 4 companies, and by company I include Asmodee as one company, if you know what I mean, and Hasbro as one company, even the Wizards of the Coast. But like, it's not a problem that you have a whole bunch of Asmodee games, or that I have thousands of cards from Hasbro, most of which are Magic the Gathering things. That's not inherently bad. It's just that I think that at the point where we are trying to recommend things to other people, I think there is a slight responsibility to do little bits of searching, not just find the things that are easily represented to us, whether that's in a Facebook group or whether that's, on a shop shelf or wherever, but to actually go into other groups, go into other designer groups and say, by the way, I'm doing this review channel. This is the kind of games that I do. If you would like to have your games reviewed, let me know. I think that would be a really nice thing for people to do. If you have the bandwidth, again, it's not at the expense of yourself. And I want to make that clear. Do take care of yourself. Don't feel like you have to do all these things. But I think that is kind of best practice. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff to catch up to. I do apologize to everyone. So firstly, a lot of jokes about how iteration helps legitimacy develop, but originally the repetition legitimizes was from Adam Neely, and thank you for sharing that there, Alex. and talking about things coming out of nowhere, and the original idea is rarely the best version of it, and talking about Ticket to Ride apparently coming out of nowhere. Well, how can people say that when Elfenland, come on, Elfenland is clearly a precursor to Ticket to Ride from Alan Moon. Unless I'm getting that completely mixed up. Someone corrects me if I'm wrong, but Elfenland, I believe, Spiel des Jahres winner from Alan Moon before Alan Moon made the somewhat similar, and again, be learning from themselves. And Gavin says, if diverse board game designers and creators actually produce interestingly different games, why should you know anything about the creator? And that's a really interesting point. Maybe it's all about featuring diverse games, which is the last question. So I'll hold off on that for just a minute. And it might be the same as what you were saying, Matt, about employment. Ideally, factors like ethnicity shouldn't matter, but we have to attempt to fix existing bias. Maybe we have to be aware of these things to fix that inherent bias. Yeah, that's a really important point. And hello, Legends, it is lovely to see you. We are just coming up towards the last question, but and so Elfenland, the precursor to Ticket to Ride, so it feels like hopefully this has been a little bit for people to think of, but does anyone have any conclusions on where they started this discussion from regarding this question? Because we've meandered a lot.
I think the really hard thing about having games from a diverse range of people and not just necessarily the main companies is that people don't seem to want to hear about games they've not heard of already. I think anyone who makes content for smaller games and then kind of the bigger companies side by side, there's a huge difference. And not that one game is better than the other. Oftentimes a smaller game is much better than the more popular game, but no one's going to watch that content because they haven't heard of it. And it's something that eternally frustrates me as a creator. I'm like, I made this to show it to you because I think it's good in the first place. I wouldn't have gone to all this effort, but then no one watches it because it's like, oh, it's not in the top 10, whatever, on BGG. Why am I going to even look? Or it's not in the new hotness. And people are missing out. There's some fantastic games out there, and people just, I can't drag them in. I'd like to. I keep thinking like I'm missing something that should get people to come and look at this. But it's just, I don't know, people just don't tend that way. So yeah, there's definitely, I think people do make quite a bit of content for diverse creators or from diverse game designers, but people don't necessarily want to look at it, which is weird. Because, weird. People claim they want different things. They're tired of dry euros and what else. And there's all sorts of innovations being made, but no one wants to look. So I don't know what that is. Maybe someone can tell me. I would really love an answer.
I am wondering if we need more clickbaity titles for our videos. maybe
things you need to know about.
I'm trying to think of... okay, I'm just going to be incredibly self-promotional.
Four people discuss diversity in gaming. You won't believe what they said.
But yeah, maybe even having the leads right there. Maybe that's the problem with this whole, frankly, board game reviews. It's like, hey, here's a game. Okay, here's how it plays. Now here's what I thought of it. You are really burying the lead in that manner. Maybe it should just be, let's get to it. Not even in the first 30 seconds, but in the title of the video. Why Root made me angry. And then you talk about the game.
And then
for the record, Root hasn't made me angry. Actually, one part of it did. And maybe I just talk about one part. Or why Wibble is the words game for dyslexics. That's I don't know. I'm trying to, or I'm not beside by games. I can't think. Why
do a review of a game that you really like?
Ticket
and then
to
the
Ride
title
to
could
New
be
York is the best version ever.
I
Something
don't know.
like
Do you
that.
think it would help? Would it help? I'd love to know. You know, you in with a chance to win like 10,000 euros now. Come see my thoughts on X. I don't know.
You won't believe what's happened after we asked these guests one simple question. They were all very civil and fruitful, and even-handed discussion emerged. And Gavin agrees with you. Like I kind of do this aim, and I do actually appreciate Bauer's Gaming Corner for just highlighting all the games of. I just want to give a couple of quick shouts outs. Bauer's Gaming Corner, and I'm realizing now that these are all men that I'm about to talk about, but I'm going to only talk about 2 of them. It does all these thrift shop finds, which is quite cool. Like all these old games, it's like, this is interesting for me. But then also you've got Back of the Shelf, which I really like, a new podcast by 3 people who are British, UK based. I have been on their show. I've been slightly biased, and everyone talks about one game that they think isn't like in the top 100 and ideally not even in the top 1,000 on Board Game Geek, but it's a game that they think is really good, like I talked about Doodles. And kind of why that's a really good game that more people should pay attention to. And maybe that's a thing. Maybe something like Rado, where frankly, Rado likes the game, otherwise Rado wouldn't be reviewing it. At least that's maybe a good thing. And maybe we do need to set more expectations, seriously. Why are we trying to hide what we think of the game? Sorry, Cardboard Kid, and I feel slightly bad saying this, but the Cardboard Kid said, on a podcast, this is a game, I'm not going to tell you what I thought of it because I've reviewed it and that feels like spoilers. But why should it be spoiler? Why should that be, I get to the end of the review and now I find out what you think? Surely it just be, I really enjoy my city. I've got a couple of very small problems with it. I do think about the, ecological impacts of such games. And there are some parts of the design that also I feel could have been done much better. But hindsight is 2020. I feel like Knizia is obviously a designer. I'm not saying I could have done better. I'm just saying it could have been done better in a perfect world. And watch my 2 or 3 hour review to find out in excruciating detail why. And sorry to go on a rant, but do you think that would motivate more people to watch reviews about lesser known games if it was, this is what I think of it?
Like for me anyway, I like to have a bit of a lead in because you can't talk about a game until someone knows what you're talking about. So I do a bit where I show off and I very, very broadly say how the game plays, and you see all those pieces. And then I tell you some things I thought about it, and then I get to the bit after now I've explained how the game fits together and why that's good or bad, and then what I thought of it at the end. Because I can't just sit here and go, hi, this game's great. I loved how this mechanic interacted with this mechanic, and the board looked like this, but you can't see any of that, and you've no idea how that goes together. I do think it's a good hook and sinker, though, to open up and go, I thought this game was amazing, and here's why, and then launch into it. I might steal that. It's a really good idea. I'll say thanks, Baz. But I think as a whole, people need a bit of information. They need enough to understand what you're discussing, but not so much, well, at least in my case, that it's a really in-depth review, because I want to keep it kind of short and sweet. Maybe other people can do that in their approach. But whether or not that would grab somebody in, I'm not entirely sure. I don't know what I have to tell people to go, this game is great. Please look at it, because look, here it is in all its glory and all the ways it's great. Because, I don't know.
I am kind of thinking about newspaper headlines, like where quite often they don't make sense, and then but they get you to then read the article to, contextualize it.
You're a smart.
I want to say,
good idea.
Firstly, thank you very much, Ocean City Games, for following. we will get to your question in just a minute before we finish up. Lots of funny clickbaity titles. The stream Meghan Markle would not watch. Can you guess why? You'll never guess what this old game looks like now.
That's actually
Game
good.
designers won't tell you about this one simple trick. Taking game.
Oh, that's comment of the day. That's brilliant.
Alex, give yourself 500 points.
That's brilliant. So good.
Try this to quickly get the 6-pack of Magic the Gathering boosters. Okay. So, firstly, how do you feel about small publishers using the name of big games to try and break through? E.g., if you liked Seven Wonders, you'll love this. I don't know. I dislike it slightly, but I understand why it's done. Even, Stegmaier Games, for gosh sake, did like the whole, if you like Terraforming Mars and games that were like that, try Wingspan, which I think has bitten them in the past with Scythe. I know there were a lot of people who were against maybe the way it was represented, but Scythe and Wingspan are both fantastic, super fantastic games in their own right. And maybe it was thanks to that, even if there was a bit of disappointment, it might have been thanks to comparing it to other things that they kind of managed to cut through the noise.
Can work against you though, because if someone didn't like Seven Wonders, then they wouldn't like your game. So yeah,
it's a double-edged sword for sure, and you're forcing actually the people to compare your game to a bigger known game as well. So reviewers
more pressure on yourself.
Will compare them.
I also find sometimes when you do something like that they'll go, it was supposed to be like Seven Wonders, but really I just prefer to play Seven Wonders. Because you're comparing it to something that people already love and know and care about. But I do like to situate games in similar brackets when I talk about them. So if you like this, it feels a bit like this, but it's a bit different. Or, to give you an idea what type of game it is or what it might feel like to play.
I do like, this is X but Y. I like that kind of thing, because that gives you sorts of things. And you're very welcome, Ocean City. And the final question before we wrap up, do we have, if anyone who's reviewing games, do we have a responsibility to feature a diverse range of games? Because obviously someone might want to only review heavy cardboard, for example. I personally think that just review whatever you want, but it's more important to have diverse sources than diverse range of styles. What do you peeps think?
Agree. Completely.
Okay, Max agrees. Go.
That's all I got to say.
Oh, there we go. Look, we're swapped now. Now you have to talk. It's the law.
No, Matt agreed.
Matt agreed. Oh, okay. I definitely think it's really important. I also think sometimes though, as a content creator, there's nothing nicer than being able to lift up somebody, in a sense, or at least expose them to more people, because you think this is really great. There's been a number of smaller games I've come across and I was like, this is really, really good. And no matter how much I try to sell it, people don't buy in. But there are certain games I will still mention on Facebook lists years later, as in, you should try this. It is really that good. And certain ones stick with you. And it's fun to be a part of that and try and get more people to look. So yeah, I have a lot of fun with those. So it's important.
Yeah, I agree. And there's just one more filter I have before I do a review. I just look into it. Is it a game that I would like to play? There are certain genres I just don't care for. And then I cannot be enthusiastic about the game, even though the game might be good. And I want to be positive about games. So if I think a game is really, really bad, just from reading the rules, I will say, no, I'm not going to do it, because I might trash your game and you don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they force me to, because I had to do one game before, because I did the review of Wingspan, I had to do another game as well, and that game was so bad. I didn't like it at all. But yeah, I had to be honest. So it was basically Yahtzee, but with convoluted rules.
Of course, you have to be honest, because everyone deserves honesty. And yeah, I think that I know Jess has taught me that in business, clarity is more important than fairness and kindness. And I think that that's almost true for personal relationships as well. Because without clarity, I don't believe you can have true kindness and fairness. Because otherwise you're just assuming what the other person wants. Let's say you buy a whole lots of things for the house, but then you don't communicate with the other person what you're buying, and maybe the other person thinks, hey, wait a minute, this stuff in the house is actually just taking up lots of space, and maybe you're happy with it, but I'm not, or maybe I don't like the way you decorated things. You have to at least have that clarity and talk to the other people and have that honesty. I've been banned. Blamed. That makes so much more sense than banned.
Love Ansend.
So
good.
Now is kind of the time to recap and wrap up. We could chat about this again with different people and come to totally different conclusions, or not come to any conclusions at all. But hopefully this has been... I hope that for the people watching, I know it's kind of preaching to the converted, hopefully it's given you something to think about. We've talked about having more options for people, showing that you're an ally, that it is a safe space, and that responsibility shouldn't be on the individual. We talked about how the mediums affect what you're doing. We talked about the nature of board games, a little bit about how board games are themselves lacking in diversity, and this is almost an institutional problem. Gavin mentioned the idea is not good enough on its own. Well said usually, but I'm going to ignore that caveat. We talked about how you are a part of the things that you make, and they are a part of you. So even if you try to copy someone else, you're going to end up doing different things. And sometimes don't just look at who someone is. Don't just look at, okay, if you're interviewing someone for a corporate job, don't just look at their CV. If you're thinking about getting someone on as an interviewee, don't just look at what interviews they've done, especially if they've not only done none or one. Don't just be chasing the people who've already done lots of interviews and be thinking, oh, that's a person I could interview. Actually reach out and explore and do a little bit of digging. Thinking about trying to bring a spotlight to particular people, trying to bring a spotlight to particular games. How can we get people interested? Because none of us here are doing it for the money. We are doing it because of a passion about games and a passion about sharing that thing. And so how can we share that? And we talked briefly about giving credit, and Adam Neely, some person on YouTube. So I guess I'll go and look up them, and if you want to share the video where they said that repetition legitimizes, then feel free to share that. Somebody talks about choosing games feels like a topic for another day, maybe in 3 weeks. If some more of you are able to join me again, for that will be the last weekend before my episode 400 extravaganza and my break. We can talk about working with other people and choosing games, if that sounds reasonable. I do apologize, I've got bad connection. I can't hear you.
Yeah, you're frozen.
We can hear you, but you're frozen.
But we can hear you. Oh,
there you go.
Oh, there you are.
You're back.
Okay, never mind.
Okay, sorry,
enough,
did
you got
anyone else
frozen
have
in
any...
exactly the same pose as earlier.
Yeah,
It's clearly dinosaur day.
No, you weren't.
Yeah, you.
I'm
had
going to
them
patent
spread
that.
out, but-
Don't copy my idea. It's my new thing.
Yeah. Maybe I'll freeze like this.
Okay, let us finish up one at a time, going round clockwise, and I know you've got to head off in 30 seconds, Matt. So do you have any final words? Do you want to share anything? And yeah, here
Just
is
that,
your
I think-
30 seconds of fame.
Okay, well, just that I think we are all fortunate to be involved in a hobby where, in general, the majority of the people in it are welcoming and are forward-thinking. So, I think that's just a good thing. That's all I've got to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely have to agree with you on that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Bez, you're muted.
You're on mute.
Sorry, I was clicking away. Thank you very much once more, everybody. It is lovely to have you. Matt, do you want to skedaddle right now? Because
I'll
it'll
be all
probably
right
be
for a minute or
another
two.
5 minutes or so.
I'll leave when I need to.
Okay, so firstly, if you want to check me out, all those links, Soft by Bez, everywhere, twitter.com/Bez, instagram.com/Bez, Twitch, I'm here, I'm streaming every day at 10 a.m. UK time, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays at 4 p.m. for the next few weeks, and always Tuesdays at 8 p.m. UK time, playing some sorts of games and YouTube old episodes, Discord, blah, blah, blah. That's all the things. Matt, where can people find you?
All those places.
Yeah.
QB or the Offline Gamer.
Yeah.
And let's see, Antoinette, where can people find you? Sorry, wrong thing.
Yeah, I love the look at the length of that. That's impressive. So it's Board Game Inquisition or BG Inquisition on Twitter. If you want to chat with me, if you want pictures, you can check out Instagram, and if you want memes, I have a Facebook page for those. And just search for Board Game Inquisition. You should find me. It's an unusual title, and I'd love to say hi.
And finally, Yoda.
Yeah, on Instagram, Facebook, and on Twitter, you can find me as DutchYoda Plays, and on Twitch, you can find me just as DutchYoda. I will stream tonight and tomorrow night, and I still haven't thought of what I'm going to stream, so that will be interesting.
That is fair enough. And Alex has apparently that absolutely makes sense. Repetition legitimizes is apparently in almost every video, but here's the channel. Good if you are a music nerd. So Adam Neely, there you go. And Nick, we are unfortunately wrapping up, but thank you for dropping in right at the end. Let me check my banners. I want to firstly thank everyone. So obviously everyone on screen, Antoinette, Matt, Yoda, everyone who's been watching, everyone who's been contributing such amazing questions. Special shout out to the comment of the stream. What was it? These designers don't want you to know about this one simple trick. Taken game.
So good. So good.
But thank you, and also thank you, Jess, and I hate shouting out people and Gavin and like just everyone, and thank you, Nick, for following along. It's like just lovely to have you all. And this is the final section where I say, over to you. What are you up to? You can share, but only if you want to. What are you up to after this show? Do you have a date planned? Are you going to go outside of the house today? Do you have a board game planned? Do you have your lunch planned? What's going to happen to you? Yoda?
I'm going to work in the garden because I haven't finished that part yet. So I'm definitely going outside. Then I need to go to the garden shop to get some fertilizer and other stuff that I need to finish up my work in the garden. And hopefully I get it done by today. I'm not sure, but let's hope so. And later tonight, a Dutch stream.
Yay.
Karen is on her way here as we speak.
Okay. Ooh.
So, yeah,
exciting.
I'm currently tracking her. So,
that's not weird at all.
No, well, she said so I know how long until she gets here. Waze is brilliant. You can see where your friends are when your friend is on their journey to you.
I mean, it's
so when she
consensual tracking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I can plan. So when she gets here, we are going out to. There's a new designer outlet shopping area, that park thing that's opened up near me. So we're going to that, and then we're going to have a date night, and we've got a copy of Mandala Stones which we need to review. So we'll be playing that later.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah.
Good.
Right. What am I up to? It depends entirely on how much energy I've left after the stream. I think I've planned on playing some war games and then some board games, but I might end up just doing some miniature painting instead. I've taken it up over the last month, and I think I'm getting better. I don't know yet, but I like messing with paint, so that seems to be my new relaxing thing to do in the afternoon. Yeah, so that's my plan. Games of some description. It's my life all the time.
And Alex is already out of the house and has a date with being at work. It's pretty quiet. Legends is playing 7 Summits and hopefully play testing a game for a designer. Gavin is playing Arcosa once more
so
before
good.
reviewing it. I actually have a I want to call it a friend's date. I don't know what to call it, but I am going to Cakes and Ladders with McCall.
Ooh.
I'm super excited because
That's awesome.
So I'm definitely going to be out of here in a wee bit and cycling over, and then we'll walk over to Cakes and Ladders together, and then we'll sit down and maybe play a game, and then also I'll be back here at 4 p.m. I'm playing a game by Dr. Finn. I actually forgot the name of it, very embarrassingly. I have to look it up once more. But with Mike Bonet from Who, What, Why Cast, why is it not
exciting?
Okay. Nanga Parbat, that's the name of the game from Dr. Finn's game. So we are going to playing that on stream at 4 p.m. tomorrow. If you want to find out about my streams, then do check out stuffbybez.com/streams, which will tell you about all the things. I'm not going to share everything, but tomorrow is Solo Sunday. I'm going to be playing some Roots in the morning, and Monday is Musical Shenanigans, and then over the week we've got discussing working with publishers, with some amazing designers, discussing Martin Wallace's self-publishing company on Wednesday, all sorts of things. And if that sounds interesting, check that link, share, spread the word. I am going to check on Twitch now who we should raid. So, Rob is doing more blogifications about the village on the river. Cakes and Ladders, I agree with that. Playdate, I like that name. Yep. Although we might not play, we will decide when we get there, because I don't even know what they're doing with the board games, because board games might have to be sanitized. It might be literally just a cafe right now, because government restrictions are weird. And Nicholas is making good progress. Awesome. Enjoy your life. And thank you. Who should we read? Sorry for this wee thing. Nerds of the West is doing something board game related, games about beer. Let's raid them.
I feel ill-equipped for raiding.
Of the West. If you're on Twitch, then please copy paste that message and just chuck it in there to show all the love and all the hearts. And the only thing left to say is, unless anyone has any final messages on stream. Okay, well, bye. This is goodbye. So, bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye. This is the end of the show. Bye. And now it's time to go. Bye. This is goodbye song. Bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye. This is the end of the show. Bye. And now it's time to go. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye, Rob.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Ocean City Kings. Bye-bye, Gavin. Bye-bye, Alex. Bye-bye, Antoinette. Bye-bye, Matt.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Yoda.
Bye-bye.
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 Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Where is the one trick? Hey, I'm pulling a pencil out of my head.
Ooh.
Bye-bye. Yeah. Bye-bye.